Hi, everybody. Thank you for showing up, and thanks, Celo, for hosting us in this amazing event. We'll start with a little bit of introductions, and then we'll go deep into UBIs and what does that mean for us and what's happening in the world today. So start with Adar. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi. I'm Hadar. I'm from Israel, and I've been with GoodDollar for roughly 4 years already. Basically, I'm a developer, but my passion and what I always wanted to be is revolutionary. And I found it, in GoodDollar, trying to build new economic frameworks.
Hi everyone. Hey, hello. I'm Marco from Portugal. I'm co-founder at impactMarket. So I've been working in technology and social impact for a while. I'm really passionate about the concept of unconditional basic income and also Web3 technology. So at impactMarket, we are providing unconditional basic income to the most vulnerable communities in the world, like refugee camps, the Brazilian favelas, indigenous communities, farmers, etc. And happy to be here and to tell you more about what we're doing.
Thank you. I'm Tomer, co-founder of Flory Ventures. I've been working in the space of impact and crypto for a while now. And let's just get going. So I want to start with a bit of a basic question to you guys. Were you just never wanted to work and you invented a philosophy around it, or why do we need UBI? Like, what's the... You don't hear me? I asked, did you never want to work and you invented a philosophy called UBI, or there's an actual need for universal basic income?
All right, why UBI?
Why UBI?
If we
You can't hear me.
It depends if you think about a developed country or a developing country and the financial system, and also when you think about extreme poverty, and there are a lot of places in the planet that people don't have, they are trapped in poverty, and that's one of the biggest limiting factors for human potential. And this trap is not because people don't want to work. Sometimes it's because they live in a country or there is hyperinflation on the currency, or they are in some communities that they don't have opportunities. And most of the times there is a correlation also to be unbanked, not access to financial services, not access to having some income or access to a credit so they can kickstart their businesses or to provide the better conditions to their children. So, and that as a kind of, it's one of the biggest traps. So unconditional basic income, we didn't invent it, but there is a lot of skepticism around that. Kind of the same way there is skepticism around crypto. And most of the people that actually need this unlocker of their human potential live in places where there are a lot of social problems, political problems, financial problems, and they are also unbanked. They don't have access to any kind of financial services. So I think aligning blockchain technology with the concept of unconditional basic income can actually make this wealth to reach the most people in need, so they can start to build from that.
Okay. You want to add?
So for me, I like to think about UBI as the way to democratize money and basically decentralize investments. Because today, the banking system is deciding where to invest, and that causes a lot of problems for us, from the housing crisis, where we keep inflating the housing prices and so on, not investing in green energy and regeneration and so on. And if we directly transfer money to individuals, then every individual can decide where they want to invest it, if it's in the local community or in different businesses that match their own beliefs. And that's the way that we can really make a change. But I think that to do that, we also have to, right, Web3 is like all about trustlessness. But I think that for UBI to work is we have to actually trust people and trust humans, that every human being is able to make the decision in what to invest in. And because, you know, I hear a lot about people are, yeah, but people won't know how to spend the money, and I think that we have to start trusting each other.
So we understood why UBI, but then will be the question, why are you giving them fake magic money and not real money? Like, why are you using blockchain?
Define real.
Why are you using blockchain for this, the kind of technology? Like, why are you doing it with crypto? What's the combination between them?
For me, when I first heard about Bitcoin, it immediately clicked for me that, wow, we can now try, because before crypto, I was all about monetary reform. And when I heard about crypto and Bitcoin, it was, wow, everyone can build their own economic framework. And you know, we do it in a certain way at GoodDollar, and Marco is doing his own way, and there are lots of other projects that you can find out on Telegram. Go to Open UBI channel, and everyone is doing it in their own way. And blockchain is simply a playground to try and do all those experiments, because I don't know if we are doing it the right way, but that's a way not to get locked inside of a system, and then everyone can always easily innovate.
I think that actually the concept of unconditional basic income is not possible without blockchain and crypto. This because almost 2 billion people are unbanked. So, and also there is the underbanked. So if you live in Venezuela, the money that you call it, or that paper thing that they give you, is managed by a group of people that somehow you have to trust, and most of the time you don't know who they are. They are printing it also in a computer, but it's on a centralized database. So it's numbers on a database. That's what you call real money or not. So how do you define what is real money? Actually, it's just an accountability system that tries to be as fair as possible. In this case, blockchain allows that anyone has a kind of the power of centralizes, or the Federal Reserve, for example. Now they are printing so many dollars. For those unbanked where they have limitations on their politicians, or not access to financial services, or even if they have access to a bank account, there is a problem of the currency, devaluation of the currency that devaluates the buying power and the freedom of the people. So if you want to reach actually those almost 2 billion unbanked, even if you could go to all these different countries that have different laws, different legislation, different limitations, with blockchain, you don't have to ask permission to anyone. If someone has access to the internet, they can use it, they can own it, and the government or whatever can try whatever they want, but you're giving ownership of wealth to the individual if they have access to the internet. And this changes a lot of things. So that's why if you actually want to do universal basic income to any human being in the world without limitations regardless of where they live, a decentralized accountability and economic framework is needed. And that's why I think that UBI is not possible without this technology.
Okay, so let's take another double click into what each one of you are doing specifically. What's GoodDollar, what's impactMarket, and if you can also describe a little bit, like, have you met real world already? Is that serving anyone? Where does that stand? So what are you doing on a personal level, and does it meet people?
Okay, so at GoodDollar, basically, GoodDollar is a reserve-backed currency. That means that every GoodDollar is backed currently by DAI. So the more people buy GoodDollar from the reserve, more GoodDollars are minted, and then the price goes up. And if someone sells back their GoodDollars, then they get DAI back in exchange and the price goes down. But the way that we do UBI, so I always find it hard, to find the right way to explain it. So recently I heard that Glenn Whale was talking about Vitalik in the Time article, that Vitalik transferred from thinking in an anarcho-capitalist mode of thinking into a Georgist mode of thinking. And money is like a network, right, that gives you access to a network of people that produce things. But eventually, you only interact with some other, like the final endpoint. And that endpoint, that person gets most of the value, while a lot of people participated in the process of generating all that value. And they are not getting the value when the price of the currency rises, right? The most value goes to people that hoard that money. So by doing inflation, we have a reserve ratio at GoodDollar, and it goes down a little bit every day. And that allows us to mint, relative to what is in the reserve, it allows us to mint more GoodDollars. And then we distribute all those GoodDollars to everyone in the system equally. And that's a way that we share the value, the rising value of GoodDollar with everyone in the system. Regarding real-world impact, so GoodDollar is, in that sense, is very early relative to what Marco is doing. Marco is able to generate much more impact. But we see that there's a lot of excitement around it. Even people that don't need money, right, they claim it, and we see them participate a lot in giving campaigns, right? Everybody is really excited to give and help other people. So that's been a very interesting utility that we found for GoodDollar right now.
Yeah, I think that there is a difference. So GoodDollar is more the concept of universal basic income, where the wealth or the currency or the value that you get is not correlated with any centralized entity per se, but is open to anyone in the world, regardless of where they live. We adopted a slightly different approach, and eventually we are going towards also creating our own currency. But in our case, we use Celo dollar because, well, Celo dollar is a kind of stable coin, but in developing countries, the dollar, there is a lot of demand and people can use it right away. So the people that, another thing is that we prioritize the most vulnerable communities and the countries where the dollar amount makes the most impact per each individual. So we are using the concept, that's why I say that it's universal basic income and we are more unconditional basic income, because the difference is that we are using a currency that is already, people understand it, they can use it right away, there is a lot of demand for dollars, so it's easier for people to use it right after they receive it. But also we are trying to eradicate extreme poverty by doing this. So we are going through vulnerable communities that already know each other, that already have a sense of belonging, and then that actually need this money. So a difference on 30 cents or 50 cents on the dollar per day on these beneficiaries' lives, because there is so much need, they will figure it out. And because they work in community, they teach each other, they transact with each other. So we are seeing, for example, on average, our beneficiaries are almost 40,000 in more than 30 developing countries. We are prioritizing that. They are claiming about 300,000 Celo dollars a month, but they are transacting almost 800,000. So there is a lot of circulation. People use it. They go after the merchants. You have to accept this. If you don't accept it, I go to the other. And then the merchant that accepts it ends up getting most of the customers. So there is a community pressure around that. But eventually, we depend on donations. So people donate, and then we have an incentive that we give a governance token of our protocol as a reward. So you donate, and you become an owner of the protocol itself. The more it grows, the more value it creates.
Okay. So you kind of like started opening on that, but most of the people here are looking to participate. You're talking about universal basic income, and you're talking about people in developing world. Like, how we, the people in the room, are capable of participating in this economy, and is there an opportunity for us, or is that like, are we just giving money? What's our part of the game?
Basically, I think that the opportunity here is to, connect with a larger network of people in the world, because as I mentioned before, right, money it's a network of people doing and producing things. So it can help us, connect with other people that are not necessarily, from our same area, or they're different social background and so on.
That's nice. Can I make money out of that? Or that's nice. Is there a financial opportunity coming with it, or just?
Yeah, so of course, everyone can participate in GoodDollar, right? You have, I think, currently you have two options. One is just, get GoodDollars. The more GoodDollars that people buy, it rises the value of GoodDollar and allow us to mint more GoodDollars and give more value to people. You can also stake at our platform. Basically, the way that it works is that you can stake stable coins on our DeFi app, and we invest those stable coins in other DeFi protocols, and it generates interest, and that interest goes to the reserve and generates more UBI, and the staker in return gets also GoodDollar rewards, but also governance rewards, our Good token. And I think that with the Good token, we just launched it recently this year, but I think that the Good token will be very interesting, because we plan to do, we are building a lot of tools, a lot of DeFi tools that would help to invest in a lot of impact projects and so on, and the Good token would be crucial for that, to decide on the future of the GoodDollar system, decide parameters, decide where to invest, and so on.
All right. In our case, as I was kind of explaining a little bit, so there are different ways to. So in our case, because it's not universal, you cannot just go and start getting free money or free currency or free assets, regardless of the value, because there is a governance system that community has to apply, and then there is a verification, and there is a priority system. But in our case, when you make a donation, you earn governance tokens, and those tokens has a market value. Sometimes what we see is that the amount of dollar value in our tokens that we receive is higher than the amount that you've donated, and then what happens is that some people sell part of the tokens to keep donating, and then there is some kind of sell pressure, and then we are now creating mechanisms in order to balance that. But one way to help is that buying our token, there is a direct correlation with how many people we can take out of extreme poverty. The more the token appreciates in value, the more people are incentivizing to donate because of the reward they are getting. And so there is, in this world of these gens of yield chasing and people that want to make quick money instead of slow, like what they were saying this morning, getting rich slowly. In this case, there is a token in the market that if it appreciates in value, it actually takes people out of extreme poverty and allows more people to use crypto. So if you want to be exposed to the potential of, we started as an additional basic income because it's great also for adoption, retention, and to reach and tap at markets of bankers and the people that the Web2 fintechs cannot reach. If you want to get exposure to, we want to become eventually a decentralized bank, that if we are actually, we have a mission of wanting to become one of the biggest contributors to eradicating extreme poverty. If we do that, it means that by 2030, maybe we will have between 500 million and 1 billion people using this infrastructure. So it's like donating through us, it's like kind of also investing in this potential, or just buying the token, you incentivize others to donate. So there are these two main options.
Nice. I want to talk about your personal journey a little bit. If you could share one of the experiences that were like surprising for you, maybe overwhelming for you in trying to make this world that you're describing happen.
Well, for me, in 2017, I decided that I want to do crypto, and there's an opportunity there. And I was walking around different conferences and trying to sell my radical ideas about money, and everyone were looking at me like I was falling in the sky, from the sky. What, you want to do inflationary tokens? We're all about, right, deflationary token. Token should always rise in value. You should not print more money. We hate printing money. And it was very, very frustrating. And somehow, suddenly, I was approached by Yoni from eToro, and he had the same vision. And it was really surprising at the time that someone coming from the capitalistic marketplace has a similar vision for a currency that works for the people. So yeah, that was extremely surprising.
Yeah, in our case, like when we have this concept of going to people that live in extreme poverty in very remote areas that's using technology, or we try not to talk a lot about if it's crypto or blockchain or whatever, what's the protocol, like it's the same that doesn't make sense that you say, oh, you are using a website that is built through a protocol named TCP/IP. It's like, what? It doesn't matter. We try to say that, oh, it's a special kind of dollar that it's yours, the government cannot take, and you can use it in whatever you want. And then we see like the stories, because in our app people can share the stories. We have some documentaries and testimonials. And then we see people with more than 80 years old using it. Without, because also it helps the fact that their grandchildren then start to learning more about that, teaching the older ones how to use it. And also it's very interesting that suddenly they start claiming, they make a lot of questions, but eventually, like after a few weeks, then we start to seeing that the volume and number of transactions just spiking. People start to figure it out because they need it so much they start using it. And it's interesting to see that you are seeing that the number of assets they have start to increase as well. And then people are saying, oh yeah, I know. And they start using like even Uberswap, and they start figuring out all of those things without us saying anything. So they actually like starting to learn more. It spikes their curiosity because it's something that finally they have access. It's the first time they are experiencing digital finance, and they have suddenly like all this world, and the younger generation start to go and having a lot of curiosity about how it's possible that we can have this money, then no one can take it from us. And it's not from the government, and we can transact directly to someone on the other side or in the other country without asking for permission, without fees, without anyone saying anything. So that sparks their curiosity, that then we start to think like, they saying like, oh yeah, I have some Celo, and I used to do the swap, but how did you found that? What? Without us having said anything. So it's very interesting that it sparks a curiosity and learning not so much also about the technology, that also creates a lot of opportunities for the younger generation to start learning more about this technology and developing their own things.
For me also, UBI is a lot about the fact that once you have a basic income, you can start becoming curious. Like you allow curiosity.
Exactly. So, like the pyramid of Maslow, like once you secure your safety and comfort of your children, most of the people you support are women. So as soon as you take your processes that are running on the back, like when you see like that task manager with CPU percentage of occupation, and in those communities, when someone lives like in extreme poverty, they are always worrying about nutrition, their children education, shelter. But once you are able to alleviate them from those concerns, they start, okay, thinking more about skill sets, learning new things, thinking more medium long term. Now the kids, instead of having to go to get drinkable water and walking for 4 hours, now they actually can go to school, and people saying, oh, there are no more people begging on the streets. And now we came together every week to put 5% of our UBI for our community to fix the streets, to fix like some things that are common for everyone. So they start learning more about what they're curious about. They are not trying to study. It changes a lot of things, especially mentally. Like when it's a mental trap living on those conditions. And if the system around you doesn't help you, it is a kind of perpetuates like generation to generation until they get comfortable with that.
So I can also add to that I live in a kibbutz. It's like a cooperative community, and when I joined it, there's a lot of pressure went off. I didn't have to, worry about providing for my family, worrying about how am I going to pay a mortgage for my house, and it really liberates you to actually pursue your, your ambitions and build yourself as a person.
Yeah, and conditional basic income is probably the most efficient and most powerful human potential unlocker, is what I believe.
From like what I know about your projects, we're kind of like in a situation now when GoodDollar is having a lot of users, but not getting a lot of money, and you have more restricted users and getting more money. What's actually like the main barriers that we have at the moment for these things to be sustainable, scalable, life-changing across like continents? Like, what are the main barriers in your mind?
Yeah, the main barriers is to get people on the ground, businesses accepting it. That's from one side, and on the other side is at GoodDollar, we need to somehow access more of that DeFi money out there, right? Attract more of the whales, more of the degens, have them excited about this new possible future. Try and make, change their mindset.
I think one of the biggest challenges, there are a lot of challenges. One of our biggest one is identity and somehow privacy in a selective way. For us, it's quite easy to make people using that because there is the needs, there is the currency that they understand. Eventually, we will create our own currency, but another challenge is that also the inflow of funds, because the more basic income we provide, the more we need the constant inflow of funding coming through the protocol so we can reach many more people. So identity is like...
You are making noise now.
Good. So there are a lot of challenges on that. Eventually, identity or creating Celo-resistant mechanisms.
Go deeper on identity. Why is identity a problem?
Because how do you, in our case, being unconditional and trying to get a priority on some communities instead of just going anyone in the world, you have some attack vectors, and also some people don't even have an ID that we're supporting. They don't have access to financial services, so our kind of attack vectors are the community managers that sometimes what can happen is, for example, I'm a gatekeeper, I'm deciding in this community who should get basic income or not. So I can tell you like, okay, I add you if you give me half of your basic income. If not, I don't. Or I have my friends and I just tell them, yeah, create a lot of wallets in all your phones. Or just, you know, like there are these, or also there are other kind of tricks, but one of the ways that because of blockchain we can figure out some things, we have some mechanisms in place, so, but there are these kind of attack vectors. So the thing that we want to make sure is that first is an individual, is a human being that is in needs and should get priority on get access to a basic income. So the way now we are looking to design is a more a kind of a social consensus mechanism where other people vouch for each other, but then if something bad happens, there is a collateral effect that other, like more people on the same community can lose money or being affected as well. So there is a kind of social pressure in order for what we don't need to know what's your name or what's your ID, just make sure that you are an individual, you are unique, and you should get priority on accessing this. But the way you get selected to receive the basic income should not be on hands on the centralized or someone else. Should be a kind of a collective decision making. So in our case, token holders decide on which community should be approved, but within each community there are community managers, and those are the ones that decide who should be added or removed to get access. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we have.
Nice.
Yeah, in GoodDollar, when we started, we recognized that that's probably the main problem, right? Solving the unique identities problem. We decided to be more programmatic, and we solve it in a more decentralized way. But we invite Marco, and if there are any other developers here, to use our system. It's open, and we also have a bounty on that, so people can actually get some money to integrate our identity solution in their system.
So last question before we go down. What's utopia looks like when all the magic happens?
Personally, for me, the utopia is kind of selfish. I have this, I'm a workaholic, and I have this fantasy that when UBI is going to be around, I'm going to actually leave the computer, start doing other stuff, play some music.
So I was right. I was right. It's you just didn't want to walk, so you invented the philosophy.
or use the most important organ on your body to be the most productive, creative, and helpful you can. That is your brain. So most of the people work, physical work, just because they need to get some income, because they have to pay bills, and they spend all their lives doing that. What a waste of a human potential, right? For us, for us, the new utopia is actually eradicate extreme poverty by 2030. And like Sepp was saying, imagine how many Einsteins, how many young kids with potential that are being wasted or because live in that trap, that if they get a chance, what good they could bring to the world. How many Elon Musks are living in extreme poverty that we don't know, and we will never know, because most of them maybe die before they do 5 years old. And that's like, what if we could actually like not be slaves of this unity, centralized numbers, right? Because it's what is money, kind of a technology, and actually use our brains to be more together, where we are more in the same level playing field. That is not the super rich, and then 2 billion people like living in poverty, but actually together being more creative, like, and not having just a few ones having that opportunity, but actually everyone, every human being having that opportunity. I think that's not, well, after looking at this technology, I don't think it's an utopia anymore.
Nice. Thank you. Shall we?